If you're 5 feet tall like me or anywhere on the shorter side, then you probably already know that the standard fitness advice doesn't really apply to us. When you have a petite frame, then every single pound of muscle or fat that you put on or that you lose makes a huge difference for us. And if you ever try to use one of those ready formulas and apply standard numbers to yourself, using your height as a measure, then you probably started following a very low calorie diet and you were left feeling hungry and exhausted, and your energy levels were probably in a bad place without you necessarily looking leaner or more defined like you wanted. And that's what I want to talk about here today, how we can approach a body recomposition if you're a short girl or short woman like me without having to follow those extreme low calorie trends that we see out there. Before we get started, if you don't know me, hi, I'm Mileni, IFB Bikini Pro and soon-to-be fitness coach. Let me start talking about why body recomposition can be different for us petite women. If we follow traditional calorie formulas, then that can become a trap for us because we're so short. It's likely gonna give us very low numbers, and that can do a number to your body, to your metabolism. It can cause metabolic adaptation, which I've talked about so many times here in the past. It can also cause your energy levels to drop, and we're not just a body. We don't just go to the gym. We do so much more than that. We work, we have families, we have friends. There are so many things that we are besides going to the gym, and we need energy to do all those things. And like I said, being on a low calorie diet for an extended period of time can cause metabolic adaptation, which is something that is not fun to recover from. And here's the thing, when we have a small frame, it's not just about slashing calories and dropping fat. Even adding some muscle can make a huge difference for our physique, and that's where I'm getting at. You need those calories to be able to be hitting the gym and building muscle. Unlike what they say, I don't think that us petite women have to be lifting low weights to avoid to look bulky. I might be biased, but I actually think that short people, short men and women have a strength that tall people don't have when it comes to muscles and building a physique, which I think is that our muscle is better distributed so we can get a better balance. But like I said, I may be biased. Of course, that's not always true, but I do think that that's the strength that we have. So maybe start looking at it this way instead of bashing your body in your small proportions. So for us to go through a body recomposition, it's not just about losing fat, it's about gaining muscle. And we gain muscle when we lift weights at the gym. And I'm not talking about little weights. I'm talking about going through a progressive overload where you're challenging yourself week after week. And if you're not eating enough, then you're not going to be able to keep challenging yourself. And the same goes to cardio. If you're doing extreme cardio, then you'll also be running on low energy and you're not going to be able to perform at the gym. In addition to that, if you're doing too much cardio, you could be burning muscle instead of fat, and that's not what we want in a body composition. Like I said, body recomposition is not just about losing fat. If you still want to incorporate some cardio in your routine, I personally prefer doing steady pace cardio, so a walk outside or an incline walk on the treadmill, something that's not too intense and that can accommodate my lifting sessions, and I can prioritize my lifting sessions so I can be building muscle. And like I said, I like to prioritize progressive overload, and what that means is lifting more weights over time or also make the exercise more challenging in different ways, like for example adjusting your form to make the exercise more challenging, focusing on slow negatives or increasing the number of reps. All those things are going to make sure that you keep building muscle. I myself like to prioritize glutes, shoulders and back as a way to balance my petite frame. For a long time, I didn't really work out shoulders because I was so fearful of becoming bulky, like people would warn me about, but let me tell you, that never happened. I still have small shoulders and I've been lifting weights for a long time. I have been lifting weights for over 15 years now, and I really started focusing on shoulders since I started doing bodybuilding. So it's been over 6 years now that I have been working out shoulders heavy, and as you can see, I am not looking like a man, like people say, or something like that. But I do feel that working my shoulders and my back in addition to glutes glutes helped me balance my proportions as well. But what you want to focus at is going to depend on what you want to do, what your goals are, right? So I'm a big believer that if you're going through a body recomposition, you don't need to be spending 2 hours at the gym every day. I think it's about balance. It's about prioritizing lifting and diet. And that's what I want to talk about here next, nutrition, which I think is something that us petite women also get stuck at many times. I worked with coaches in the past that they would put me on a very low calorie diet, and I believe that happened because they saw me as a petite woman and thought I didn't need as much calories as a taller person, but that's not true. Calories depend on a number of factors: genetics, body composition, level of activity, so many other factors that don't only rely on height, obviously. And what I saw happening during those times is that I actually disliked my body more, even though I was losing fat, because I was also losing muscle in this process. And like I said, that's not what we want during a body recomposition. So we don't need just to make sure that we're dropping our calories enough, but we also need to make sure that we're eating enough. So like I said, instead of following those formulas that you see out there or just thinking that you need little food because you're short, instead it's better for you to actually understand where you're at, track your calories and see what your maintenance is at. And then from there, you start cutting in a very controlled, slight, manageable deficit. So I like to cut from 50 to 100 calories max every week. And I keep dropping depending on where my weight is at. If I'm losing weight on a certain amount of calories, I'm not just gonna keep slashing every week just because. And during the period of time, I also like to make sure I'm hitting my protein macros because like I said, when you're going through a deficit or through a cutting phase, you wanna make sure that you're getting enough protein so you are able to maintain as much as possible of your muscle. And one thing that I keep talking about here is that people focus a lot on calories and macros, fat, carbs, and protein, but they forget about the quality of food and the micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals that their meals are providing, which I believe to be so important, especially if you're going through a cutting phase where you're already limiting your calories. You want to make sure that those calories are quality calories, that you're getting enough nutrients and vitamins in your diet as well. Those things are highly overlooked in the fitness world, but they are so important to make sure that your hormones and your body in general is working well. I myself, when I'm dieting, I like to focus on a mostly whole foods diet and also some minimally processed foods, but I like to leave my junk food and highly processed foods to the weekend when it's my cheat day. And for cardio, I like to keep my movement steady throughout the day, so I don't really like to do structured cardio unless I'm really going through a cutting phase where I'm preparing for a competition or something like that. In those cases, I like to do steady pace cardio, which is a walk outside or inclined walk on a treadmill, or sometimes I like to use the Stairmasters as well. But mostly I like to just count my steps and walk my dog and do things like that. And just make sure that you're getting enough movement in a day. If you have an active job, then maybe you're already getting movement, so maybe you don't need to add the structured cardio to your routine. That may just cause unnecessary stress, and stress is such a big villain to body recomposition. You don't want that. Rest and recovery is also so important to keep your hormones under control, and so you can go through a smooth body recomposition phase. And the last but not least thing that I want to talk about here, that I think is the most important thing when it comes to body recomposition, is the mindset and patience. Recomposition should never be looked at as a overnight fix. Like I said, because you're building muscle and losing fat at the same time, then you might not see a lot of difference on the scale. You might not see the number on the scale dropping, but that doesn't mean that you're not making progress. That's actually completely normal. So we need to stop relying on the scale only to measure our success, because the scale can sometimes lie to us. So what I prefer to do is to take progress photos. If you don't have the patience for that, I understand. So maybe just look at how your clothes are fitting, or you can just be tracking how much stronger you're getting at the gym. Whatever keeps you motivated without you obsessing over numbers. And don't forget to celebrate the small wins along the way. That's gonna help keep you in the right mindset and motivated and excited for this change. Don't forget to give yourself grace too when things don't go according to plan. If you hadn't seen much progress in a week or two, don't panic. Sometimes that happens. It's very normal. It happened to me multiple times, even when I was prepping for a competition. And I know you can get a little bit stressed out about those things, but try as much as possible to steer away from those numbers and go watch TV, go watch a movie. Forget about that for a moment or two. Like I said, if you're able to lower your stress, that's also going to help you in your journey. Remember to keep listening to your body and giving yourself time for those changes to happen. Remember that real long-lasting changes don't happen overnight. They take patience, but they'll stay, which is the most important thing. That's what we want. Quick results often come with quick crashes too. Remember that you don't want to be there. You don't have to be there. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments what your current goals are. How tall are you? I'm curious. Let me know here in the comments, and also let me know what you want to see here next. And thank you for watching this video. See you next week.